Let's get some reaction to what is happening with the ANC North West. Political analyst TK Pooe joining us this evening. Hello to you, TK. Good to have you back on eNCA with us. So now we're hearing top 5 being voted in tonight. Then we're going to take a little bit of a break and come back and hit reset and try and get the job done. Are you surprised by the delay?
No, I think it was to be expected. If anything, I'm more surprised that they go ahead with the voting, but then say, look, we'll pause everything to come back in 2 weeks. I think it would make better sense to postpone the whole thing, get your house in order, and then come back. So maybe it just speaks to where the priorities are of the ANC currently, that they'd rather do elections than actually make sure that things run correctly the whole way around.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time in the making, all of these elective conferences, and yet we always seem to see these issues with the ANC. What went wrong this weekend? We were hearing issues around accreditation, and then I was hearing an interview that Tula Sizwe Simelane was having as well, where even a Wi-Fi system was stolen and found in a garden somewhere. It sounds like it hasn't gone according to plan at all.
No, you can't make these things up. It's almost as though the ANC wants to write a new comic on how to mess up being a governing party and doing it with style. But besides that, I think this goes back to 2018 when the interim structure was really set up. It did not serve its proper allocated time. It went over that. And then there's always just been an issue with the Northwest province, but I don't think the ANC put proper resources and thinking in terms of how to turn this province around. You have to remember, from 1994, this has always been a troubled province. Stating back to the time where even President Nelson Mandela with his NEC had to basically come up with putting him an interim person to actually just head the organization during that time. So the ANC really, when it comes to the Northwest province, has not really ever come up with a solid plan to say, listen, how do we actually rectify the regional issues and actually the issues which are really plaguing that province, which go back to 1994. So what we're seeing today is basically a relapse of what's been happening for the last 2 decades in the Northwest province.
Let's talk about the votes that are apparently going to be taking place tonight. Top 5 in the Northwest. Obviously, the concern is going to be when we reconvene in 2 weeks' time. We'll have to select all the other positions. So top 5 chosen tonight. What's going to be their first call of duty?
Well, I think the way you put it is actually quite, if it's allowed, because I think the first call of duty would be, are they allowed to serve if everything goes according to the way of the court? So I think that's why I think it's actually quite problematic. And even if they do elect them, the key issue will be, who are you governing? Because if there's no one else to support you, it raises its own set of problems. Because even if they do get elected tonight, what are they governing? So for me, it's a problematic set of circumstances, and it's very, very hard to put one's finger to say what are they going to do, because everything around them is really a bit of a mystery.
And then we were hearing some of their concerns as well from some members who were saying earlier today that they were going to wait for, I saw this report online earlier, saying they were going to wait for the conference to come to an end and then go back to court to have it deemed null and void as well. And once again, when it comes to the Northwest, that's not in the least bit surprising. We saw this problem before the conference. No real surprise. It is an expectation it'll happen whenever this conference is actually coming to an end.
Exactly, and I think that the Northwest is almost like a precursor of where the ANC is going to go going forward, unless they really do arrest the development. You recall that in KZN, a name, I think, which troubled many South Africans came to the surface, which was called the Taliban. But the first mention of the Taliban within the ANC was actually in the Northwest in 2002. And the fact that you've also seen that Northwest premiers do not actually serve out the full term is actually seeing how many presidents in South Africa outside of President Nelson Mandela don't see out their term. So the worrying thing about the Northwest is it's a precursor of where the ANC is going, which is abruptness, a fight over not ideological positions, but sometimes over greed and the just grabbing of power. So the sad thing about the Northwest is it's a precursor of where the ANC is going, unless they arrest the development.
And the other big news out of the weekend, of course, was the big name former Northwest Premier Supra Mahumapelo as well, pulling out of, essentially, I don't want to call it a competition, but I suppose it would be, for leadership and rather going after a position in the NEC. Some people are saying that was a move from left field. That was a bit unexpected. Would you agree?
Not necessarily. There comes a point, usually, when if you're a provincial big hitter, so to speak, that the province, you make an arrangement with the province, and that will be interesting to see who he has made an arrangement with. Where the call seems to be, look, you kind of have outgrown the province. It's maybe time for you to go a bit forward into the bigger structures of the ANC. But this always comes with a proviso that, listen, you've got a home backing or a base that backs you. So I think the bigger question for us is, which we need to probably investigate, is who then is Mr. Supra Mahumapelo trusting to make sure that his home base is solidified so that he can actually make the jump forward into the national arena.
Let's just talk about that national arena later in the year. How does another delay in the Northwest look for the end of year ANC elective conference as well? Because based on the elective conferences we've seen provincially so far this year, TK, and now this example of the Northwest, I'm not imagining sailing off into the distance smoothly come December.
It almost staggers them into December. Let's not also forget Free State is also going to be up for contestation. So it basically means the next 3 to 4 months, not unless these court cases, these problems are put aside, it can actually just rule the whole December into chaos. So what we've never seen, and I think it would be interesting for us to see it, is if they decide to go on, regardless of what the court cases are saying, and then the court cases really come to December saying, listen, you cannot go forward. What does that actually mean? So look, I think maybe the smart thing, and maybe one is being a bit too kind and saying the ANC will follow this, is for them basically just to reset themselves, to say, listen, we're really failing. This December thing is too far away. Let's sort out what we need to sort out and maybe try a different course of events with different people. But I doubt the ANC will ever look at it that way.
Well, I appreciate the time. As always, political analyst, good to have you with us on South Africa Tonight. TK Pooe joining us this evening as we continue to cover the ANC North West conference. So it looks as though the top 5 is going to be voted for tonight. Then we are going to have a 2-week delay and then try and restart and get everything going again. Well, any more updates from that, of course, we'll go live to Pulele Jones, our reporter on the ground for us.